What is good, everybody? Welcome back to another episode brought to you by the League FFB. Today, we're here for Sunday Live. It's week 2 of the NFL season here. We are getting prepared for our fantasy football matchups this week. Hopefully, you guys had some Devontae Smith, some Kirk Cousins, some Justin Jefferson, or even some DeAndre Swift in your guys' lineups this week. Unfortunately, my Vikings, we didn't handle business on Thursday night, but it is what it is, man. But we're here to help you guys with any start sit advice that you guys need, any questions that you have regarding injuries, any questions you have regarding lineups, or just any topics that you guys want to discuss regarding NFL or fantasy football. Feel free to drop those things in the chat for me this morning. We are going to be talking all of that. And while we are waiting for some of these comments, some of these things to come in through, so we can discuss and help you guys win your fantasy football matchups this week, we're going to be going through some of these matchups in the NFL. We're going to be going through some of the games. We're going to be talking about, where the game totals are currently at, what kind of spreads are sitting, what players are out in these matchups. And so we'll be discussing all of that as we go here for the next little while. I see we got Jared in the chat. Jared said, "What's good, man? Hey, good morning to you, man. Hopefully you are having a great morning this wonderful Sunday, and hopefully you are getting ready for your fantasy football matchups and hopefully going to be taking home a W this week. I know I'm hoping to take some home this week. So if you have any sit questions for me, Jared, do you have any NFL questions, just anything you want to talk about, go ahead and drop it in the chat. But in the meantime, I will start discussing some of these matchups here. And really the first one that I have here on the docket for you guys is going to be that Raiders Bills matchup. So, the Raiders are going to be playing at the Bills this morning. Really, the game total is set at 47 points over on DraftKings. All of these stats are going to be pulled right off of DraftKings Sportsbook. That's what I use over here in New Jersey. So we're going to be talking and discussing it because of that. But they do have a 47-point game total, so they are projecting a lot of scoring in this matchup. The issue here is that they're expecting a lot of scoring from the Buffalo Bills and not necessarily from the Las Vegas Raiders. The spread is currently at -8, so a little more than just a touchdown difference that they're projecting here. And the biggest thing I think that needs to be discussed is that your week 1 wonder, your week 1 waiver wire pickup, probably one of these guys that you really were happy was on your team, hopefully he wasn't on your bench, was Jacoby Myers. But Jacoby Myers is out in this matchup. So no Jacoby Myers tonight or this morning. That's fine. It's going to be good for your Devontae Adams shares. It's going to be good for your Josh Jacobs shares. But the only issue I have here is that they're going to be playing from behind a lot in this game. So some guys that I do like in this, obviously you will still play Josh Jacobs if you have him. He's just going to have to be used in the passing game. You're going to have to play Devontae Adams, who is going to be used in the passing game. Could be a very big game for Devontae Adams. Obviously, you're playing your Stephon Diggs, your James Cooks, probably even a Gabe Davis and Dalton Kincaid. You could probably play both of them as well. But overall, it looks like it's going to be a high-scoring game for the Buffalo Bills and maybe not for the Raiders. Jared says, I started Madison, hoping Josh Jacobs goes crazy. It's all right, man. I was not very optimistic about Alexander Madison coming into the week. I actually, what I'm looking at here is I actually had him nominated as one of my potential bench candidates. But because it was the Thursday night game, I couldn't get it into the video. Those videos come out Friday, Saturday. And so we didn't get to see that, happen. I had to play Alexander Madison. Wasn't happy about it, and it turned out being a nightmare. So it is what it is. Unfortunately, Alexander Madison posted there's some people that were, saying some pretty nasty things to him. Guys, I know I don't have to say this, but if you are in the fantasy football community, just keep in mind, these are real people. These are people that have actual lives, real things going on. Your fantasy football teams don't matter to these people. Do not be that person that is going out and saying some nasty stuff to fantasy football or to NFL players because they didn't perform for your fantasy football team. So please don't do that. I know, hopefully a lot of the people here in this community with us over at the League FFB, hopefully you're not doing that anyways. I don't think you guys are, but just please don't do that. Don't be those people. It's a very small amount of people in the community, but those type of people suck. Don't be that guy. But for what it's worth, man, I do see we got a couple. We do got a couple people, ask and start sit questions over on other videos and comments in YouTube. Hopefully they are going to tap into this live stream. But let's keep talking about some of these matchups because I do want to keep this show about 45 minutes. I don't want to go too long. And so we'll keep it going. But the next matchup that we have on the morning schedule here is going to be the Chiefs and the Jaguars. So the Chiefs are going to be on the road at the Jacksonville Jaguars. The game total is set at 50.5 points. The spread is -3.5 in favor of the Chiefs. So it should be a competitive game, a close game, a very high scoring game. In fact, I think this is one of the highest projected scoring games on the week outside of that Vikings and Eagles game that was on Thursday night. So some injury news, obviously, in this game. Good news for everybody. Travis Kelce, he's expected to play. So still questionable, but Andy Reid said that he expects him to play. And I don't know if you need any more information than that. If Andy says he's playing, he's playing. And then CEH, he's had an illness. He's been sick, but he's questionable. I think he'll play. If he doesn't play, though, a slight bump to Jerick McKinnon, especially against the Jacksonville Jaguars, where this is going to be kind of a pass-heavy game, and we're expecting a lot of points. So overall, I think you can play pretty much everybody in this matchup. I mean, I'm playing, you're playing Kelce. You're going to play the Isaiah Pacheco. You can play, obviously, a lot of people over there in Jacksonville. You can play Travis Etienne, Calvin Ridley, Christian Kirk. Can play all those guys, man. Zay Jones. But I really do like Travis Etienne this week. I think Etienne's going to be a great play. In fact, I think he's going to be probably a mid to high end running back one for your fantasy football rosters. I just got high hopes for Travis Etienne this week. I think he's going to be a good play. And Jared's in here. He says, is Mark Andrews playing? And that's a good question. Right now they said that Mark Andrews is expected to play. So if he is expected to play, then, we'll see how it is. Just keep an eye on it, though. I mean, there is an official word that he is running. So we want to, keep an eye on that. But I think for the most part, we should expect Mark Andrews to be playing today. So let's keep moving down this docket, man. We do have the next matchup, which is going to be the Chargers and the Titans. Chargers playing on the road in Tennessee, and that line is set at 45.5 points. The Chargers are favored by 2.5 points. And the biggest news here is that Austin Eckler is going to be out. So if you guys were watching our waiver wire video, we were talking about Joshua Kelly. We said Joshua Kelly should be picked up. We mentioned that Austin Eckler had that ankle injury and that if he was going to miss time, Joshua Kelly was going to be a good pickup for you. And, all of that has come to fruition. Unfortunately, obviously, we're not celebrating any injuries, but we got to stay ahead of the game. And Joshua Kelly looks like he's going to get the starting job here today. So with that being said, I think Joshua Kelly can be a fine play in your fantasy football lineups. Just as I go over here and I look at where I have him in my rankings, I want to say that I have Joshua Kelly here as a running back too. Let's see. I do have Joshua Kelly sitting right here as I have him in the same tier as guys like Najee Harris, Miles Sanders, Kenneth Walker. You can kind of play him there. He's an RB2, probably low-end RB2 in your lineups this week. So Joshua Kelly is going to be a fine play. As you guys know from my start sits, I love this matchup for Keenan Allen. I think you can play Mike Williams. I think you can play Gerald Everett if you need a stream at the tight end position. There's lots of guys that you can play in this lineup. One other thing is that DeAndre Hopkins is questionable. No word yet whether or not he is going to be playing or not. We're still waiting on that to come through. So keep an eye out for DeAndre Hopkins. We want to make sure that he's playing in this matchup. If he's not, obviously, let's give a bump to Treylon Burks. Let's give a bump to Chigozie Okonkwo, and let's also give a little bump to Derrick Henry. So keep an eye on that matchup. I do see we have another question here in the chat. We have Anthony saying, with Aaron Jones out, I need recommendations for a second flex. It's tight end premium. I'm playing Kelce and Waller. Do I play Logan Thomas, 3 tight ends, OBJ, or Tony? My RBs are Brian Robinson and Miles Sanders. So I'm assuming you're playing Brian, you're playing Miles Sanders, so you got to pick between these guys, Logan Thomas or OBJ and Tony. Anthony, how much of a tight end premium is it? Is it a half point premium for your tight ends, or is it a full point premium for your tight ends? Because that might sway my decision. I think if it is a half point premium, I would rather play OBJ. If it is a full point premium or more, I I might play Logan Thomas. So that's my advice there. But interested to hear, is it a full point or a half point premium? We see Madden's past in here. He says, "Do I play Gibson or Charbonnet?" That's a good question, man. I think both of these guys are pretty close in my rankings. As I look down here, I don't think either of them are fantastic plays this week. Uh, I do have them back to back. Funny enough, I have them back to back in my rankings. So I have Antonio Gibson just a tiny bit higher than Zach Charbonnet. Um, so I guess, in a bubble, I would be playing Gibson. If it is a PPR league, you play Gibson. If it's a standard league, I might go Charbonnet if it's a standard league. But yeah, that's my advice for you, Madden's past. And then we have Anthony. He says it's a half point. Yeah, and a half point, man, I don't think it makes that big of a difference. So I might just lean with OBJ in that scenario. But if it was more than a half point, I think Logan Thomas might be the play. So let's keep going through this docket here. We'll go to the next game. And funny, we're talking about these players already. So we're talking about Ravens going on the road playing in Cincinnati at the Cincinnati Bengals. The line is set at 45.5. The Ravens are underdogs, +3 underdogs. So should be another competitive game. 45 isn't like crazy high. It's fairly normal. Um, are expecting, like we said, we are expecting Mark Andrews to play. We don't have the official word yet. I keep checking, refreshing, updating. We don't have official word yet, but we are expecting Mark Andrews to play. I think some players that we can play in this matchup are Zay Flowers, Odell Beckham. We could probably flex Rashad Bateman. It's going to be interesting to see how that Gus Edwards and Justice Hill thing pans out. Still want to see that. I don't know if I'm playing either of those guys right now until we kind of see what happens, especially because, that not that I think Melvin Gordon is going to be a big part of this offense, but they did activate him. I want to see how this backfield works out first. Like, I don't want to play these guys right now. I'd rather just see what happens, but Gus Edwards and Justice Hill, I guess if you have to play them, you could play them. But I'm not. And then obviously with the other side of the football, Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, Joe Mixon, we're playing all those guys. You could probably flex Tyler Boyd. And no, I don't think Chris Evans is expected to play in this matchup, which obviously means that Chase Brown is probably going to get some more play, but it might mean some more receptions for Joe Mixon. But the biggest thing here is this matchup is going to be good for Jamar Chase and T. Higgins. T. Higgins was one of my starts of the week, so obviously very high on this matchup for T. Higgins. Think it's a bounce back. I know he goosed you guys in your lineups last week, and I think he's going to do a lot better this week. So that is the matchup there. That's my thoughts on that one. Anthony says, do you have trust in Allen Robinson this week? Yeah, man. Honestly, I think I would play Allen Robinson over OBJ this week. I think I would play Allen Robinson over OBJ. It sounds scary, and it is. It's risky, it's scary, but I think Allen Robinson has a higher ceiling than OBJ this week, I'm pretty sure. I just think Zay Flowers and with Mark Andrews coming back, it's OBJ might be third. He might be fourth in the pecking order when it's all said and done. Because Bateman looked all right last week too. So it'll be interesting to see, but there's a chance that Allen Robinson is the second receiving option just behind Pat Freiermuth this week. George Pickens popped up on an injury report. Obviously, Deontay Johnson isn't playing. I don't know, man. It sounds gross, but A-Rob might be the better play. He might have more upside for you this week. So as we get down this docket, we do have one of my favorite games of the week. I'm going to be tuning in. I'm going to be watching. It is the Seattle Seahawks on the road at the Detroit Lions. 47.5 points game total. The Lions are favored by 4.5 points. And we're expecting a little bit of a shootout here in this game. Obviously, we're playing guys like DK Metcalf, Kenneth Walker, Tyler Lockett, JSN, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Jahmyr Gibbs, David Montgomery. We can play all those guys. I think all of those guys are good plays. DK Metcalf is a start of the week for me. He's one of my favorite matchups this week. Jahmyr Gibbs, also a start of the week for me at the running back position. I think this matchup bodes well for all of these guys. I'm excited to play any of them. And Dawson is in here. He says, how are you feeling about Saquon Barkley this week? Well, it's going to be better than last week, in my opinion. I think Saquon Barkley is a good bet this week to have a decent week. He was actually one of my nominations for one of my favorite matchups, one of my favorite starts of the week. Obviously, it's a no-brainer. You're going to start Saquon Barkley. That's why he wasn't in my video. But I do think that Saquon Barkley is going to have a good game. If it gives you any vote of confidence, I have my own money. I bet money on Saquon Barkley to score an anytime touchdown this week. I think he's going to fall into the end zone. I think he is going to get a lot of rushing work. I think he's going to be using the receiving game. And it's a pretty soft matchup, man. It's against the Arizona Cardinals. The game total is set at 39.5, so not a lot of points projected, but it does look like the New York Giants are projected to score a decent amount of points. So I think Saquon Barkley is a pretty safe play, and I'd be viewing Saquon Barkley as a RB1 this week. I mean, when I have him in my lineups, I have him as my RB2 on the week. So I think Saquon Barkley is going to be a smash play. Dawson says, appreciate the reassurance. Yeah, no worries, man. I appreciate you checking out the channel. Thank you. But let's keep it moving, man. We have we probably about halfway through the games, and we have probably about 30 more minutes left in this episode. So go ahead and keep dropping those start sit questions or those NFL questions that you have for me down below. But we are here at the Packers and the Falcons game. The Packers are going to be on the road at the Atlanta Falcons. So that game total is set at 40 points. The Falcons are -3 favorites here on the road. Biggest news in this matchup is that, again, Christian Watson is doubtful, hasn't officially been ruled out. He is doubtful, though. I don't expect him to be playing in this game. And also Aaron Jones, who was our performance of the week, our baller of the week over here on Let's Talk Dynasty this week on Wednesday. He's out or doubtful. He hasn't officially been marked out yet. So they're going to be without Aaron Jones. They're going to be without Christian Watson. So I think as far as that goes, we can fire up A.J. Dillon. I don't think A.J. Dillon's going to be fantastic for your fantasy football lineups. And no, we actually do have news now. Aaron Jones and Christian Watson are officially inactive. So they are out. But play Romeo Doubs. You can play Luke Musgrave. You can play A.J. Dillon. On the other side of the football, we could probably play, Tyler Algier. We can play Bijan Robinson. I'm personally not playing Drake London this week. I know a lot of people are hot and cold on Drake London. I'm not playing Drake London this week. You could probably play Kyle Pitts. You're not going to probably feel good about it, but you at the tight end position, you're shooting for upside. Kyle Pitts has upside. But that's really what we're looking at in this matchup. Dawson in here, he says tight end starts. He's looking at Juwan Johnson or Hunter Henry, and that's a great question. Let's pull up these rankings here at the tight end position. For me, excuse me. For me, I have Hunter Henry sitting here as my tight end 10 this week in PPR, assuming you're playing in PPR. Hunter Henry is tight end 10, and we have Juwan Johnson as tight end 18. So I would be going Hunter Henry over Juwan Johnson. And the reason why, if you really need to know, is because in that matchup with the Dolphins and the Patriots, we have a higher over-under game total. So I do like more points there. I also like the option that, Devontae Parker is likely not going to be playing in this matchup. Juju is who knows. So Hunter Henry is kind of their guy at this point in the receiving game. So they got to use Hunter Henry, and I like his upside this week as far as volume goes. And then Spacenfeld's in here. He says Roshan or Dalvin in a PPR league. That's a great question. This week I would say right away, without even looking at my rankings, I'm pulling them up right now, but right away I want to say that I have Dalvin Cook higher. Let's see. Yeah, Dalvin Cook is my running back 33, so you can view him as a running back 3, and then I have Roshan as 37, so I do have Dalvin Cook a little bit higher. We can view him as a running back 3 or a flex running back in this matchup. Dawson says, thanks. No problem, man. Appreciate you. So let's keep it moving, guys. We are going to keep going through these lineups. We just finished talking about the Packers and the Falcons, so we're going to go over and talk Bears-Buccaneers, and that game line is set at 41 points. The Buccaneers are -2.5 favorites. So as we're looking at this lineup, obviously we're talking about guys like DJ Moore, Khalil Herbert, Roshan Johnson, Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, Rashad White, all of these guys. I would say there's not a lot of guys that I like playing in this matchup. It's a low game total. It's projected to be fairly competitive. If you have Godwin, if you have Evans, if you have DJ Moore, I would say you play them anyways, but I'm not expecting like blow up games out of them. If you have Rashad White, you can play Rashad White. I think Rashad White might be the best play out of all of these guys this week. And I say that with a little asterisk next to it because I'm really not sure on how I feel about all of these guys. But overall, I think you play DJ Moore, you play Mike Evans, you play Godwin, you play Rashad White. Rashad's who I feel the most confident in. And I guess you can play Khalil Herbert, but Khalil Herbert, I will say, was nominated for a must-sit player for me this week. So I guess you can play him, but I'm not expecting a lot. He officially didn't make the video, so it's not like he was a must-sit player for me, but he was at least nominated. He was in consideration. So that's how I feel about that matchup here today. Now, as we go to the Colts at the Texans, that game line is set at 40 points. It's a -1 favorite for the Houston Texans. So CJ Stroud popped up on an injury report. He is expected to play, though, so we're not worried about CJ Stroud. When it comes to options that you're looking at in your fantasy football leagues, we're looking at guys like Michael Pittman Jr., probably a Zach Moss, a Damian Pierce, a Nico Collins. Like that's really what we're looking at here. So if those are the matchups, we play Pittman, we play Nico probably. Damian Pierce, I guess you can play, especially because this is supposed to be a somewhat competitive game, so they probably will go a little bit more to the run game than they did last week. I'm not playing Alec Pierce. I don't think we should play Alec Pierce this week. But when it's all said and done, that's how I feel about that game. I'm really not too much to talk about there. Giants on the road at the Arizona Cardinals. That game total is set at 39.5 points. So the Giants are -4 favorites in this game. Wan'Dale Robinson is doubtful. Darren Waller is playing. I know he popped up on an injury report earlier this week. There was concerns about a hamstring. A lot of people were throwing out the buzzwords similar to Cooper Kupp. This is the same thing as Cooper Kupp. Cooper Kupp's on IR. Darren Waller said he's playing. So we have to react and we have to play fantasy football based on what's actually happening. And if Darren Waller's playing, you got to talk about it like that. And we can't, doomsday this thing with Darren Waller. Now, that isn't to say that we can't put a little bit of just pump the brakes a tiny bit. But I think, if you have Darren Waller, you're playing Darren Waller. We should be playing Darren Waller in this matchup. You should be playing Saquon Barkley in this matchup. Saquon Barkley is going to have a fantastic week. He's a top 5 play for me this week at the running back position. When you go and look at the other side of the ball, you have Hollywood Brown. I think you can play Hollywood Brown as a flex. James Conner, you can play James Conner as a low-end RB2. I don't love the matchup for him, but you can play him as a low-end RB2, maybe a flex running back for you. We do have Flair here. He says James Cook or Joshua Kelly. I lean James Cook in this situation. I think James Cook, there's a higher over-under. I think he can be used in the passing game and in the rushing game. They are projected to win this game by a fairly large amount. So I think that they will start running the football with James Cook a little bit later in the game as well. But both of these guys are good plays. I think if you play either of these guys in your lineups this week, you'll be fine with the result. Joshua Kelly, for me, he's a low-end RB2 this week. James Cook, for me, he's going to be a mid-range or closer to a high-end, but probably high-end to mid-range RB2 in your lineups this week. So both of these guys should give you RB2 numbers. Anthony says Justice Hill or Hollywood. I would tend to go with Hollywood Brown in this matchup. I fully recognize that Justice Hill could have a higher ceiling. And let me preface this by saying, Anthony, if you are projected to win your matchup right now, I would probably go with Hollywood Brown because I think the floor of Hollywood Brown is going to be safer than Justice Hill. So if you're projected to win, I tend to play a little bit more safe. I want to make sure that I get those points. And so I would go Hollywood Brown. Now, if you're projected to lose, maybe you have a opponent that had Devontae Smith and some other guys that you're playing from behind. You're expected to be playing from behind this week. Then I would probably lean Justice Hill. It's close enough, but I know Justice Hill, if he falls into the end zone, if they get into the red zone and they use Justice Hill like they did last week and he gets a touchdown or two, Justice Hill has a higher ceiling. So if you need a ceiling play, play Justice Hill. If you need a floor play, play Hollywood Brown. That would be my advice. Hopefully that helps. Flair says Montgomery versus Gibbs. I just want to say Gibbs, but I don't know. Yeah, I mean, it's tough, man. I think when you're looking at both of them, I think Gibbs has the higher ceiling just because he can be used in the passing game, and I think he just has more juice. But when I'm looking at both of these guys, like, I think until I see Gibbs do it, and what I mean by do it is I want to see him surpass Monty. I want to see him really get involved. And it says, and the Lions coaching staff says that they're going to start giving him more. They're going to kind of, let the leash go a little bit more. So with that being said, I want to say Gibbs too. I do. And I said he was the start of the week, but really it's both of these running backs in the backfield are going to have a very good week. I think if you have to pick between one or the other, I'm going to go with David Montgomery. So if you have to pick between one or the other, I'm going Monty. That is my advice here today. And then Isaac, he says Anthony Richardson or Daniel Jones, thinking Jones might have a bounce back week. Great question. I think when I look at them in my fantasy football rankings right now, I have Anthony Richardson as quarterback 12 this week and Daniel Jones as quarterback 14. My only worry about Daniel Jones this week is that I think that the Giants could get up early on the Arizona Cardinals. The Arizona Cardinals just are a bad football team. They're projected to be a bad football team. I mean, we all know the whole tank for Caleb situation that's going on over there and the Kyler Murray injuries and all that. So, breaking news here too, guys. They're saying Travis Kelce is expected to play on a pitch count. You know, what that means, I don't know. If Travis Kelce's on your team, you're going to play him. But they said he's going to be on a pitch count. And as we just spoke about Gibbs, they said that they're looking for a bigger role today for Gibbs. So I would still go Monty. But to answer your question, Isaac, in short, I think that I would play Anthony Richardson over Daniel Jones just due to the fact that I think Anthony Richardson is going to have to play in a more competitive matchup than Daniel Jones. And if Daniel Jones and the Giants do get up early, they may just, start feeding Saquon Barkley the ball, and there may not be a lot of passing touchdowns to go around. Spacingfeld says, anyone worried about starting D-Hop, trying to decide between him and Dotson? I would be starting Dotson in this situation. I am a little bit worried about starting D-Hop. It doesn't project to be a great matchup for these guys anyways. Like I said, they're playing the Chargers, so they may have to pass a lot. I don't know what it's going to look like for D-Hop. He hasn't practiced this week. It hasn't looked good. I may just play Dotson. I think Dotson for sure is the safer play, and he might have a similar ceiling to DeAndre Hopkins. So I think there is reason to be worried, Space and Feld. I think if you're trying to decide between the two, I think I'd rather just lean Dotson this week. So great questions from everybody. Love the comments in the chat. Keep them flowing. We're going to be here for about 15 more minutes. So keep dropping those sit questions in the chat. Ask me any NFL questions, really anything you have. Happy to answer anything you got. Just make sure you drop it in the chat. We'll be here for about 15 more minutes. But as we're going through these games, we have a few more games to talk about. We have the Niners on the road at the Rams. Game total is at 45 points. The Niners are minus 7.5 point favorites. Biggest injury news in this game is that Puka Nacua is questionable. Waiver wire wonder for you guys. Puka Nacua, keep an eye on him. I don't know if he's playing or not. My guess is that he's going to lean towards playing. But obviously, I'm not out here making diagnoses. I'm not a fantasy football doctor. We're just giving the information we have. So, keep an eye on Puka Nacua, but he is questionable in this matchup. For your fantasy football options, play Christian McCaffrey, play Brandon Ayuk, play Deebo Samuel, play George Kittle, play all of those guys, play Brock Purdy. For the Rams, do not play Cam Akers. I don't know if we can play, what's his name? Kyron Williams. I don't know if we can play him. If Puka plays, you can play Puka. I don't know if I'm playing Van Jefferson. I don't know if I'm playing Tutu Atwell. You can play Higbee. You can play Stafford. But other than that, it's not a lot on the Rams that I want to play. But Ayuk should have a great game. CMC should have a great game. Deebo Samuel could have a great game. Lots of fantasy football options here. Anthony says, thoughts on Troutman. It'll be interesting, man. I almost played Troutman in a DFS lineup this week because my thought was like, okay, he's one of Sean Payton's guys, and he was pretty cheap to buy. If you're not familiar with these DraftKings DFS, each player has a dollar value. You pick them and you put them into a lineup. You have like a $50,000 budget. So at the price, I thought Troutman was a good play, but $200 more than Troutman was Luke Musgrave, who I felt like was a better play, especially now that Christian Watson and Aaron Jones are out. So I think Troutman is a decent play in any DFS lineups this week, but I'm not playing Troutman in a start sit lineup league. I'm not going to play Troutman this week. Let's see what he does. But in a DFS format, sure, you could probably play Troutman. And then Isaac says, got Freiermuth over Musgrave at tight end position. Is that the right move? I think it probably is. I mean, let me just double confirm my rankings here for this week. We do have Freiermuth as tight end 8 and Musgrave is 15. So that is the right move, in my opinion, based on my rankings. Team Out of Nowhere says, what's up, bro? Start 2 full PPR, Breece Hall, Puka Nacua, and Chris Godwin. In this situation, I would be starting Chris Godwin for sure. And then if it's between Breece Hall and Puka Nacua, I would assume I would play Puka Nacua over Breece this week. But if Puka Nacua doesn't play, then obviously you just go with Breece Hall. But Chris Godwin for sure should be starting, and then I lean Puka over Breece. Just under Anderson says, Judy is still on waivers. Should I grab him and drop Kittle? I'm in a 3 wide receiver in flex league and have Wilson, Devontae Smith, McLaurin, Godwin, and Kittle. Do you have any other 3 wide receiver and flex league? So do you not have a tight end position? Are you not starting a tight end in this league? Because if you have a designated tight end spot, I would rather just keep George Kittle. But if you don't have to start at tight end, I mean, I don't mind you going to grab Judy and dropping Kittle. But it comes down to whether you have that designated tight end spot. Do you have a designated tight end spot? Maybe I'll be able to answer that question a little bit better if you give me some more context. So let's keep going through this while we wait for him to, give us a little bit more context. We do have the Jets on the road at the Cowboys, 38.5 point over under. Jets are 8.5 point underdogs, not projected to score a lot of points. Breece Hall is questionable in this matchup. Garrett Wilson is a guy that I'm probably not starting this week. I think you can if you have to. I think the ceiling for Garrett Wilson this week is low end wide receiver 2 numbers. We could play Dalvin Cook as a flex running back, maybe RB3. We can play Breece Hall as probably an RB3, but I'm not really eager to play any of these Jets. I'll be honest. I don't really want to play any of these Jets this week. Brandon Cooks is doubtful in the matchup. Tony Pollard is going to be a smash play this week. Top 5 play at the running back position. Tony Pollard is going to be great for your fantasy football teams. CeeDee Lamb is going to be fine. You could maybe play Jake Ferguson, but for the most part, it's pretty simple. I think the Cowboys are going to win this game. They're going to win this game by a lot. It's going to be done early. And Justin says, nope, it's an 8-team friend league and no tight end spot. Well, if there's no tight end spot, I don't have an issue with you picking up Judy. I think I don't have an issue with it. I mean, really, it's especially if it's not a tight end premium. I think you can do it. It's probably a fine move for you. But it comes down to not having that tight end. If you don't have the tight end, then it doesn't matter. So I don't mind you doing that if that's what you want to do. But I think both guys should be valued pretty equally. For that being said. So, anyways, I don't have much more to say here about the Jets and the Cowboys. I just think that game's going to be pretty boring for the most part. Not a lot of fantasy points going around except for Tony Pollard. Now, we have a few more games here. We have the Commanders at the Broncos, 38.5 point game total. The Broncos are 4-point favorites here in this matchup. Greg Dulcich is on IR. We did allude to that with the Adam Troutman news. But overall, we have Terry McLaurin, Jahan Dotson, Brian Robinson. We could play all of those guys. We could maybe even play a Antonio Gibson. You could maybe play a Logan Thomas. I actually prefer Dotson over Terry McLaurin this week. I think Pat Surtain for the Broncos is going to shadow Terry McLaurin a lot. He kept Devontae Adams in check for the most part last week, 6 catches for 66 yards. He finishes like wide receiver 29 on the week. So I do think Terry McLaurin, we should kind of temper expectations. He's a player that I had on my video where it was must starts, must sits. He was more towards that must sit. I think the matchup is kind of bad for Terry McLaurin this week. Jerry Jeudy, Cortland Sutton, Javonte Williams, all these guys we can play over on the other side of the ball. The only issue that I have here is that I don't trust Jerry Jeudy right away. Injury risk is still there. I know, he's been cleared. Sean Payton said he's not going to be on a snap count though. So that is something that, is going to be interesting to watch, see something unfold there. But I would temper expectations with Jeudy one more week. I think if he goes out and he has a good game, I'd be okay if he was on my bench this week because then I know he's fully healthy. I know he's fully ready to go. But I would rather wait and see than put Jeudy out there and have him put out a stinker, or maybe go out and have another, hurt himself again or do something like that. So I'm tempering expectations with Jerry Jeudy this week. Javonte Williams is probably my favorite play from the Denver Broncos. And I do see we have a couple more in here. Milky Way says Damian Pierce or Joshua Kelly. In my opinion, this week I would be playing Joshua Kelly. Let me look at my rankings here just to give you the idea. I think both of them are low-end running back 2 options. I think Joshua Kelly has a higher chance of scoring a touchdown. And if whichever one of these guys falls into the touchdown is probably the guy who's going to have the better week. So I think Joshua Kelly has higher probability of doing that. So I'm going to play Joshua Kelly this week. And then Anthony says, would you play Shaheed over Terry McLaurin? No, I wouldn't drop it that far. I think I'd rather still play Terry over Shaheed this week. So just a few more games in here, guys. We have about 10 more minutes. So we'll keep answering these questions. Keep them flooding in, man. I appreciate each and every one of you guys dropping questions in the chat. But we have, 3 more games here. Dolphins, Patriots. This is going to be Sunday Night Football. 46.5 points is the game total. I am pretty sure I didn't get to update these ones before we went live. But it's, 46.5 points. We're looking at a game where it's supposed to be fairly competitive for the most part. I mean, we have the Dolphins as minus 2.5 point favorites, so less than a field goal is what they're projecting. Devontae Parker is questionable. Obviously, the Juju Smith-Schuster stuff is still questionable. Whether that is real or not, I don't know. I think for the Dolphins, obviously we're playing Tyreek Hill. We're obviously playing Jalen Waddle. We're probably gonna play Raheem Mostert. I put him in the video this week. We're tempering expectations with Raheem Mostert. That's my advice there. But Ramondre Stevenson on the other side of the football, smash play. I think Ramondre Stevenson is going to be a great play for your fantasy football leagues this week. I'm expecting high-end running back 2 numbers. Think I have him. Actually, I'm expecting low-end running back 1 numbers. I've actually even moved him up in my rankings. I have him as running back 10 on the week here in my projections. So Ramondre Stevenson is going to be a good play here. I would say Ezekiel Elliott probably is even a decent play, and then Hunter Henry can be a good play here in this lineup as well. Anthony says, would you play James Conner over Terry McLaurin? No, I don't think I would. They're very close. Both guys, I don't love the matchups this week. Both of those guys, I'm sure you know, Anthony, were in the video this week. I don't like either matchup. I think Conner would be a volume play. Terry McLaurin's a ceiling play. I just like the Commanders' offense more than I like the Cardinals' offense. So I trust Sam Howell more than I trust Joshua Dobbs. They're both gross. I don't want to plug either of these guys in my lineup. I'm not happy about plugging either of these guys in my lineup. But if I have to pick between one of them, it's Terry McLaurin. Flair says, would you start Elijah Moore over Mike Evans with that? With the news that Amari Cooper is out? I don't think I'm there yet. I don't think I'm there yet. I think Elijah Moore is going to be fine. I think he's going to be a good play. In fact, I'm playing Elijah Moore this week in the event that I think he has a high ceiling. But keep in mind, Amari Cooper is not ruled out yet. He's still questionable. They haven't officially ruled him out. So there's a chance that Cooper still plays in this game. And if Cooper plays in this game, you obviously would have rather started Mike Evans. So I would rather not risk it. It's risky waiting because they play on Monday night. So I would rather just play Mike Evans now. because I think the ceiling of Elijah Moore and the ceiling of Mike Evans are the same, and they also probably have similar floors. So I think I'd just rather play it safe. Let's play Mike Evans today, and let's not wait on Elijah Moore and Amari Cooper. Let's not do it. With that being said, no, that I like Elijah Moore this week. Justin says, would you start Nico Harris over Garrett Wilson? Nico Collins, if you're talking about Nico Collins, it's tough, man. I'll tell you, I just don't like Garrett Wilson, but I think I'm getting too low on Garrett Wilson. Where I have Garrett Wilson this week is I have Garrett Wilson as where's he at? I have him as wide receiver 25. Have him in a similar tier here as George Pickens, Jahan Dotson. That's kind of where I have him at. I guess you could put him in the same as like DJ Moore, Tyler Lockett as well. Nico Collins, I have him in a tier with like Puka Nacua, Christian Kirk. So that's in like my 30s. So I think I would rather play Garrett Wilson over Nico Collins. I don't think that Nico Collins has a higher ceiling than Garrett Wilson. I just don't. It sucks, man, because I've been on record. Garrett Wilson was my guy for me this year. It's just the ceiling of Garrett Wilson has gotten so much lower now that Aaron Rodgers is gone. But with that being said, I'm not starting Nico Collins over Garrett Wilson. So full PPR, I need to start two of these guys: JSN, Shaheed, Kirk, and Atwell. I'm starting Christian Kirk. I'm starting JSN. Those are the two guys that I'm starting in this matchup. Flair says, yeah, that's fair. Yeah, for sure. And then my name is Borat. Is Khalil Herbert or Gibson and JSN or McLaurin full PPR? I want to say JSN and McLaurin is what I'm starting there. Not a starting question. I received Michael Pittman and Pollard for Lamb and ETN. Worth it? I'd rather have the Lamb and ETN side. Thoughts on Gabe Davis this week? The thoughts on Gabe Davis can always be the same for the most part. Like Gabe Davis is this guy who's a big play wide receiver, and you hope that he catches a long pass for a touchdown. I feel like that can be said about Gabe Davis every week. With that being said, we should just look at the game, right? The Bills have a 47-point over-under. They are +8 favorites. The Raiders don't have a great defense. Gabe Davis could catch a long touchdown this week in fantasy football. If he does, you're happy. If he doesn't, you're not. I think the probability of him doing this week is probably higher than other weeks. So if you were going to pull the trigger on Gabe Davis this week, you could play him. But again, just view him as a flex play, plug him in, and you're hoping for the touchdown. But I think the probability of him scoring a touchdown is higher than it is him not scoring a touchdown this week against the Raiders. Good questions, guys. We are getting close to time here. I got two more matchups. These are the Monday night games we're going to talk about, and this is going to be last call. Throw your final start sit NFL. Any questions you have, last call, throw them in the chat, because once I'm done with these two games, I'll answer all of those, and then we'll get out of here. So last call on the questions. Go throw them all in the chat. So as we have this game here, we have the Saints and the Panthers. It's 39.5 points. Game total -2.5 point favorites for the Saints. Obviously, we are playing Chris Olave. We're playing Michael Thomas. We're playing Jamal Williams. We're playing, you could probably flex Rashid Shaheed. We're going to play Miles Sanders. I think all of these guys are good picks. I think Miles Sanders is a great start this week. I think Chris Olave is a great start this week. And then also on the other game we have is Browns Steelers, 38.5 points, -2.5 point favorites for the Browns. Nick Chubb, great play. Amari Cooper, if he plays, temper expectations, especially with this re-aggravation of the groin injury. Elijah Moore could be a good high upside play. Deontay Johnson will not be playing in this game. Najee Harris, let's temper the expectations there. George Pickens, he could be hurt. I don't know what's going on with George Pickens. It's tough to trust anybody here for the Steelers right now, but I guess you could play Allen Robinson. I guess you could play Pat Freiermuth. Those are guys that I would consider playing. So let's see. Like I said, last call, final call for all of these questions. Throw them in. I'm going to start going through them. Once we get to the end, we're going to be ending the stream as we are 30 minutes to game time. And I still got to set a couple lineups. So we do have a question here. It says, Flair, do you think Rodgers' injury will affect Garrett Wilson as much as people are saying it will? I'm sure it will have some impact, but Wilson targeted him a lot. This hurts, man. Let me just give you my thoughts. I don't know what other people are saying. And for the most part, I don't, in the most respectful way possible, I don't care what other people are saying. I feel like Garrett Wilson, pre Aaron Rodgers injury, I had him as a top 5 play this year. I think he could have finished as a top 5 wide receiver. Was very, very high on Garrett Wilson. I made him a my guy officially on this channel. I do think that this is going to hurt Garrett Wilson a decent amount. When I look at Garrett Wilson now, I view him closer to that Michael Pittman Jr., Mike Evans tier now. So, excuse me. The way that you view Garrett Wilson should probably be similar to how you view Michael Pittman and Mike Evans now. That's how I would view them. I don't know if that's as low as people are saying. I don't know if that's more optimistic, but that's how I view him these days. Let's see. Tyler Lockett or DJ Moore? Tough question, Jared. Let's check the rankings here, bud. I think for me, I am going to lean. Oh, see, I knew it was a tough question. They're back to back in my rankings. Tyler Lockett is my wide receiver 23. DJ Moore is my wide receiver 24. Higher game total in that Seattle-Detroit game, so I'm going to say Lockett. If I have to pick between the two, I'm starting Lockett. Justin says, this is going to sound nuts, but would it be worth it to trade Mahomes and try to get a stud receiver? I mean, what kind of stud? Like Jamar Chase level? Like Justin Jefferson level? If you can get that and it's a 1 QB, maybe. But I don't know. I mean, I think if you have Patrick Mahomes, if it's super flex, definitely not. But if it's 1 QB, maybe. But it has to be like Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase level, Tyreek Hill level receiver. Caleb, what's up, man? Says Miles Sanders versus Algier. Cooper is out, apparently. Is he out? I have not seen anything that says Cooper is out. I keep seeing that Cooper is questionable. So can somebody point me to where they said Cooper is out? Because let's see. I'm going to pull it up. Amari Cooper. Okay. It was during this stream that the news broke. It says unlikely to play. So I guess he's not officially out, but it's unlikely to play. So that's good news there. I think with your question, Miles Sanders versus Algier, I'm playing Miles Sanders this week over Algier. Hunter says pick 2, Flowers, Pickens, or A.J. Dillon. I will go Zay Flowers and A.J. Dillon in this situation. Shane says play DJ Moore. Both tackles are out today. Yeah, I mean, I don't know, man. DJ Moore's upside isn't very high right now either. So I guess I'd rather play Lockett in a game total that's supposed to be higher, and you guys are playing from behind. Gabe Davis or Romeo Doubs? I'd play Romeo Doubs. It's reported he's unlikely to play over on Twitter. Yeah, just saw that, unlikely to play. So it does sound like he will be ruled out. It's just not official yet. So thank you guys for reporting that and bringing that to my attention here. And thank you guys for hopping in and talking, football with me. We do these live streams every Sunday, just about an hour before game time. It's an hour and 15 before game time. They run for about 45 minutes. So if you have any pressing start sit questions that you want to ask me every Sunday, come back to this channel, subscribe for more. And if you guys are in here, I see we got a lot of people in the chat. Go ahead and hit that like button for me, man. It means a lot. If you feel like I gave you some good advice today, hit the like button. It helps us out, helps us grow, and is the best free way to show our channel support. So go ahead and do that for me. And I appreciate each and every one of you guys hopping in and talking with me. And if you want to talk with me, more often, 24/7, 365, I have a free Discord community. It is going to be linked in the description. So go check that description. There's going to be a free Discord link. If you join that, we're in there all the time. There's some guys that are in the chat that are in there, and we talk fantasy football all the time. Start sit questions, waiver wire questions, just talk NFL. I mean, we just have fun in there, and we do giveaways in there and stuff like that too. So go join that Discord community. Would love to have you guys join. And more than anything, good luck on your fantasy football games this week. I hope you guys all pull out a win, and if not, come back next week, man, and we'll get back to work and we'll try and win week 3. Take it 1 week at a time. And more than anything, if you have a favorite team, hopefully your team wins. Mine didn't this week. We're on to week 3 for the Minnesota Vikings. But thank you guys for checking this out. We will see you guys on the next one, man. I guess I don't have anything else for you guys today. Peace out.